going on in Matthew chapter 11. At the beginning of the chapter, Jesus sent his disciples off in twos, paired them up a specific way on purpose, and said, I want you to go, and don't take any money with you when you go. Kind of trust that I'll take care of your needs. Whatever house you go into, if they accept you, bless that house. If they don't accept you, don't worry about it. Just pass them by, which is good advice to us, because sometimes we go after people and we'll keep hammering at them instead of just thinking, well, it's just not time. Let me go into the next person who's going to receive this. It's like, no, I'm going to make you receive it. But Jesus said, just wipe the dust off your feet and just keep going. And there'll be a time that that person will want it. So he's standing there by himself, but he's never by himself. There's always a crowd around him. So he sent out, first he sent disciples out, just the 12, but he also sent out 70. So there were 12 people who he was really close with, and 70 others who just kept following, but he never got really close to them. But they enjoyed teaching. They had nothing else to do. There was no television. They weren't missing their shows. So you would follow teachers around. That was the entertainment. There was nothing else going on. So he sent 70 people away, and still there was another crowd standing there. Do you recall who came up to Jesus at this point, once everybody had left?
Nicodemus?
Somebody's disciples came up to him. John's disciples came up, and they're questioning Jesus. Now, they had an opportunity to lead John and follow Jesus. Two of them had. I think John and James had left John the Baptist and had followed Jesus. But the rest of John's disciples, they weren't feeling Jesus. Because he wasn't like John. John was, you're all going to hell. And Jesus wasn't like that, except to the Pharisees. But to the regular people, Jesus was very welcoming. He ate with sinners, and he was just weird to them. Like, John would have told these sinners, you're messing up. Now, everybody's got a different type of ministry. There are 7 types of ministry that we went over in the book of Romans. Everyone, which means everyone. What I mean by everyone? Everyone falls into one of these categories. So you can't sit there and think, well, not me, I don't have a ministry. Sorry. You do. But that eventually goes to have a church somewhere and start preaching and open up a storefront church. But everyone has a gift and a way that they can reach somebody else. Even if you're just the encouraging person, or you're just the hugging person, or you're the person that helps people think, there's 7 different types of personality types that God kind of moves through us to help other people. And everybody falls into one of those categories. So John happens to be what I call a prophet motive. When Lisa comes in here and gets off the phone, she falls into that category. Ollie falls into that category. They are interested, people who have a profit motive are interested in people's motivations. Why did you do that? What's going on the inside? They want you to investigate what you're going through. That's the most important thing to them, is that people really search themselves. So John the Baptist, he's that kind of person. If he's sitting next to Matthew, who's a sinner, Matthew the publican, who's a tax gatherer, he's going to ask Matthew, why did you do that? What was going on with you? Right? But Jesus wasn't interested in that at that point. Jesus has all of them operating through him. So at that point, he was just interested in encouraging Matthew and saying, you're forgiven, come with me. Now, I'm an exhorter. So my first instinct is to make somebody feel good about what they're doing and say, and encourage them. Say, you can do it. That is my first instinct. It doesn't mean that God will never use me to say, what's wrong with you? But the first thing that comes to me is if I see someone and say, hey, good job, you can do it, right? But the first thing that comes to someone who has a profit motive is, why are you doing that? Have you thought about it? What's going on with you? How's your dinner? Okay, so that's all John the Baptist did. Since he was a prophet, that's all he ever did. And people who followed John the Baptist, that's what they wanted to hear from him. And that's what they wanted to hear from Jesus. So they were bugged that Jesus was forgiving people and letting the disciples run around and do all sorts of stuff. So John the Baptist, his followers came up to Jesus and they didn't initially like Jesus. He was different. So we're going to have teachers that we like and other ones that we don't. Preachers that we like and people that we don't, because some of them are more close to our personality and what appeals to us. So we're not any different than one of Jesus' day. Certain people are going to appeal to you because they preach in a way that you like and teach in a way that you like. Certain people aren't. But that doesn't mean they don't have something good to say, just because they don't initially appeal to you. So we have to keep ourselves open. But it's okay that you're going to like some people better than others. It doesn't mean that you're evil or anything. So John's disciples didn't really like Jesus. So they're questioning him. What's up, Jesus? Why are why don't your disciples ever fast? And why don't, yes ma'am?
I have a statement question. Well, we was taught you should love everybody, but I don't see in the Bible one where it just says you have to like somebody.
Well, you may not like everybody, but love is different than like. So certain people, their personality may not mesh with yours. And that's why John's disciples didn't necessarily like Jesus. Because when they're around sinners, they wanted people to say, you're sinning. Because they are sinning. So that's what they wanted to hear. But Jesus would go sometimes, because he would do all seven, and say, hey, to a woman caught in adultery, somebody with a prophet motive would have gone up to a woman caught in adultery and said, well, what were you doing over there? You had been sitting out, you would be in the situation. That is definitely the truth. So that person wouldn't have been evil for saying that. That's their type of gift that God put in them. But at that point, that's not what that woman needed to hear. So God wouldn't have sent you to that person. Wouldn't have sent these separate, wouldn't necessarily sent Ollie, I don't know who I'm just making that. Certain people to that person, because that's not what they needed. God would have sent a different sort of person to there. Jesus could go up to everybody because he had all seven gifts operating in him. All right. So Jesus went up to that person and said, I don't forgive you, go and sin no more. I mean, I forgive you, but I don't condemn you. Go and sin no more, right? And that's what she needed to hear. So that might have bugged the disciple of John. Like, I don't like Jesus' personality. He forgives people too much. And that might have bugged him. But liking somebody and loving them is two different things. And the Bible tells us we have to love everybody, but you may not necessarily like how they operate. But you still have to forgive them, you still have to minister to them. Love and like are two different things. So, you have a question?
Yeah, because I must have missed it, but what are the types of ministry?
Okay. In Romans chapter 10, I don't remember. The Bible's too big, I forget sometimes. I've gone over these before. They are teaching. Some people, their personality is teaching. They love to teach. That's why I won't sit next to my brother, Joey. Then there is, like I said, prophet. And they don't mean that you're a prophet like of old and you're having vision. They mean that you're the sort of person who tries to who want people to repent of what they're doing wrong. Then some people are exhorters. Like me, they're always encouraging people. That's just their personality. Always up. Mercy is another gift. And these are the people who feel your pain. Who go, oh, I know just how you feel and I understand. They don't necessarily exhort. In fact, the Bible says if you have mercy as your gift, do it with cheerfulness. Because these people can get sad with you, they'll cry right with you. poor thing, I don't understand. Which is okay, that's the gift. Sometimes you want that. You're in pain and you want the person to sit there and just hold you and cry with you. Some people are leaders, they're natural leaders. And some people are givers.
Amen.
Now I don't know how many I just said.
That's 6.
I've only done 5 out of 7.
6.
6. Okay. I probably can tell you if I do the example that I always do. It's somewhere in Romans.
Text it to me.
Servant, yes. Thank you. The other one is servant. A servant or helper who, when they show up in a situation, they want to help. Then here's the example I've given 20 times. If I was up here, let's say this was flat, or it didn't have to be, just sitting on the table. As you're watching me teach, I keep gesturing and move my arm. I'm gonna knock this thing over at a certain point, right? So if it was made out of glass, I would say, so if I knock it over, the person whose gift is helping, their instinct is to come up and clean it up for me. Because that's what's going to help me keep teaching. The teacher's going to walk up and say, you gesture with your right hand. You should have it over on the left. And that way you will knock it, and they're going to try to teach me something in order to solve the situation. That's their, because that's what they noticed. They got to explain that to me. The mercy person is going to say, oh, I know how you feel. I know just how you feel. I've done that myself. And they're going to feel my pain with me in order to make me feel better. The person who's the exhorter, I'm going to walk up and say, you know what was great is you were talking about the judgment of God. Right? When you knocked that over, and that really made your point, and I'm going to make you feel good about it, like it was a good thing. But the prophet's going to walk up and say, why are you showing out so much? Moving, gesturing, and all that. You saw that sitting there. Why would you? And they're going to question, what were you thinking? Which is true. I saw it right there. I put it right in my way. So they're not wrong for doing that. But here I am being all fancy, and they're going to say, see, if you hadn't been shown out so much, you would have knocked it over, which is the truth. The giver says, don't worry about how much you knock it over. I'll just buy you some more. but right, they said, you knock over many glasses you want, I'll just buy you some more. And that's how they solve it. And everybody, I don't even know if I did all 7, but everybody solves it in a different way, right? That's how they're motivated to help in a situation. Now, it doesn't mean they won't do the other ones, but their first instinct, the teacher's first instinct has come up to me, explain to me why it happened, right? But the prophet's first instinct is for me to look inside myself and figure out why did you do that? Why did you move out of the way? Right? So everybody has a different motivation. And in Romans 10? No, it's not 10. Is it 8? I forget. Okay, sorry. But it says, it explains how to do these gifts. Oh, I'm sorry. The leader would see all these people up there, the person who that's their gift, and say, look, here, you clean it up, you grab the thing, let's just move this over here. Since there's 6 of you up here, why don't we just move the table and whatever, right? Because that's their gift, is to organize everybody. And that's their first instinct, is that we'll fix it this way by, let's just rearrange this and move these people over here. And everybody has a different way that they want to solve it. The Bible says that's okay, we all have different gifts. So in the situation of the woman caught in adultery, I'm going to walk up to her and say, you know what, this is good that this happened because it exposed all those people, and don't you feel bad because they got a lesson out of it, and so I'm going to make her feel good, right? Because I don't want, Mercy just sits there with it, we'll all just sit in the dust and we'll all just cry. But John the Baptist would walk up and say, this was your fault, right? All of it's true. Nobody's wrong in how they handle it. We all have different gifts. But John's disciples did not like how Jesus was handling situations. He let his disciples eat on fast days, and he sinned with sin. They did not like that. So they personally did not like Jesus because they were used to how John handled stuff. So they've been challenging him this whole time. That's what we've been looking at in the past couple of weeks. They've been challenging Jesus. There's still a crowd, though, who's watching that. And when they asked Jesus, are you really the Messiah, or is there another one? Because you certainly don't act like the Messiah, because you are not bringing fire on everybody like John said you would. That you baptize in fire, and John said you would separate the wheat from the chaff, and I don't see you doing that. I see you like hugging everybody, loving everybody. So are you really the Messiah or not? Yes, ma'am?
found in here is Romans 12.
Oh, Romans 12.
And 6. It starts from here and goes down.
Thank you. Romans 12. Thank you. Yes. Because it starts off,
It starts off the prophecy, I think.
Right, but I mean, the whole thing, let this mind be in you, which also in Christ Jesus, blah, 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 blah.
I beseech you.
Right, thank you. So Romans 12. Yes, so it lists those different gifts. And so Jesus is explaining to John's disciples, yes, I am the Messiah, even though I'm not chastising everybody and making them repent of their sins. Tell John that the blind are healed, the deaf hear, I'm about to say the deaf see and the blind hear. That'd be terrible if you mess everybody up. The blind are seeing and the deaf hear, and that's my credentials as the Messiah. And so they left, and then Jesus turned to everybody because they're thinking, ooh, Jesus put John in his place. And just because you explain something to somebody or correct them doesn't mean you're mad at them. So that's when Jesus says, who did you come here to see? You knew what John was like. You didn't go out to the wilderness to see somebody who was just blown by the wind like a reef, or somebody who wears soft apparel. You went to see somebody who really preaches. That's his personality. And so just because you're defending somebody's personality, I tend to do that because I understand that God has given everybody a different personality. Somebody will say, that person's too mean, or that person's too this or too that. It's like, and they could be. Maybe some people are mean. I'm not saying that. But in some cases, just because people say, I don't agree with that, or have you thought about this, sometimes that's their gift. They're the one who's supposed to stand up and say, hey, everybody, slow down. Maybe this is not right. They're not being mean. You're supposed to love everybody. That is a way of loving everybody, by being honest about what God is telling you. Sometimes love tells someone the truth, speaking the truth in love. Sometimes you're not loving people when you're dishonest with them and you don't tell them the truth. Sometimes it's good to say to somebody, you're about to mess up, you're about to end up in jail. That's love. Right? So Jesus starts defending John. And see, I was talking all about you, Lisa.
Lies.
I was. Because we had just had a conversation. I was explaining the different motivation gifts, mercy and what I call prophecy, and people have a prophet motive. And just because somebody says, hey, I don't agree with that, or what's your motivation, that doesn't mean that person's being mean. What I was just saying.
Oh, we did have that conversation.
Right, and I was just, these are what I was talking about, because that's why I defend people, not because I'm just like everybody or something like that, but I understand everybody has a different gift. And it is a gift to say, wait, why are we doing this? And so if somebody were to say, hey, we should all wear blue, it's okay if somebody stand up and say, why? That's not being evil. That's just making sure we're checking our motives. Why? And that's okay to be that person that does that. That person is not being disruptive. And that's what Jesus starts doing. He's defending John and saying, that's John's personality. Now again, there's still a crowd there. They are not the 70 people that Jesus sent out at the beginning of the chapter. There's just an extra crowd of people, and Jesus is making sure that they understand some people have that kind of personality. John has that personality. So John questioning me and saying, are you really the Messiah? That is not an act of, he's not being evil. people with that personality, they just ask questions because they want to know. Are you looking like, or was you looking for? And Jesus gave him a good answer. He goes, okay. So people say, well, don't ask questions, don't ask questions. It's okay to ask questions if you don't understand something. And that's what John was doing, and that's what Jesus is explaining. So that's the last where we left off. And then Jesus began to say at the end of the lesson last week, you're all going to be in trouble because I'm doing all these miracles. Because now that I've sent this message to John, John's going to say, okay, that makes sense. I get it. I just needed an answer. John's not the type who, some of us will just do whatever everybody says without asking, without question. And some people, they can't do that. They need to know why. Why are we doing this? But if you give them a good answer, they'll go, oh, okay, that makes sense now. I get it. They just needed to know why. That doesn't mean that they're being evil. Some people don't like being challenged. I like that person, they're always challenging me. No, they're not challenging. They just need to know why, and if you give them a good answer, they'll follow you. So he gave a good answer to John, but then Jesus turns to the rest of them and says, but you guys are going to be in trouble because you're seeing the miracles. John's in jail, so John's not seeing the miracles, but you're seeing the miracles and you're still not repenting. So that's where we left off. So that's where we'll start off right here in Matthew chapter 11, verse 24 and 25.
But I said to you that it shall be more powerful for the land of Sodom than they rest in the sea. At that time Jesus answered and said, I thank you, O Father, Lord, of earth, that thou hast hid these things from the wise and hast revealed it unto babes.
So this doesn't make sense what Matthew is saying. He says, Jesus says, by saying to you that it should be more tolerable for the land of Sodom in the day of judgment than for you. Meaning, Sodom didn't see all these miracles. You're seeing them. So Sodom's not going to get in trouble like you are. Because look what Jesus did for you, and you still are acting the way you're acting. Some of you want to say that to your grandkids. Look how God has blessed you, and look how you're acting. And they're going to get in more trouble. Right? And that's what Jesus said, you're going to get in more trouble because I'm actually here. Sodom didn't see no Messiah. You're seeing the Messiah, and look how you're acting. So you're going to get in more trouble. But then the next sentence says, and then at that time, Jesus answered. And the question is, answered what? Answered who? Matthew left out a section. He always remembered what Jesus said, but sometimes Matthew didn't remember what everybody else said. So Luke wrote more of what went on. What happened in between the time that Jesus said that about Sodom and Jesus answered is the 70 came back. The people that Jesus had sent away at the beginning of the chapter, they came back. So Luke records the conversation better. I told you last week that Luke can hear better than that if you remember what he heard. I don't see very well. I don't remember everything I saw. So there could be somebody here, I don't even remember. If you don't say anything, I don't remember that you were here because I don't record, my eyes don't record everything it sees, but it record everything it hears. So I'm more like Luke. I can tell you what everybody said. I can't tell you what they were wearing. I know what they said. So Luke has a better description of what happened. So Luke chapter 10, verse 17, he starts at that same place where Jesus was talking about Sodom, and then he goes on from there. So somebody read Luke chapter 10, verse 17.
But I say to you that it will be more tolerable in the day of Sodom than for that city.
So I'm sorry, I need to stop. The way Matthew recorded it, Jesus talked about Tyre and Sidon and then Sodom. The way Luke recorded it, Jesus talked about Sodom first and then Tyre and Sidon. It doesn't matter which order, because it's the same examples.
Right.
But in Matthew, he talks about Tyre and Sidon and how they're going to be judged, then Sodom and Gomorrah, and then he answered someone. The way Luke does it in verse 12, he talks about Sodom and Gomorrah, and then he talks about Tyre and Sidon, and then the 70 comes back. So verse 17 is where the 70 come back. You go on, Lisa.
Then the 70 returned with joy, saying, Lord, even the demons are subject to us in your name. And he said to them, I saw Satan fall like a lightning from heaven. Behold, I give you the authority to trample on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you.
So this happened. Matthew didn't remember that this happened, but Luke remembered because he just remembers when he hears better. So when they came back, remember Jesus sent the 70 out at the beginning of the chapter. When they came back, and Matthew forgot they came back, they said, hey, oh my goodness, in your name, when we used your name, the name of Jesus, the demons even came out of people. And Jesus is like, yeah, and here's why. I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Do you remember when this happened? We talked about it during Sunday school one time. When did Satan fall out from heaven? When did that happen? When he was cast out. But when in history? When? Prior to what? The garden. Prior to the Garden of Eden. So, yes, think about it. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, if we read Isaiah and other things, we'll find out that there was a gap in between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2. The earth became void. We read in other prophecies where the Bible says, I didn't create it void. It became that way. Something happened. There was a war that took place in heaven. That was a short war.
Clearly.
But that's when Satan led that revolt. So he created the heavens and the earth, a different heaven and earth than we are in today. In fact, in Peter it says the heavens and earth that then were passed away. They're gone. But he created a different heaven and earth. Then there was a fight between, it was a fight. Satan said, I'm a, and Jesus God said, bye. So what's the fight? But anyway, but Satan thought he was going to exalt his throne above the Most High God. It says that in Isaiah.
He attempted a coup.
12, or something like that. I will exalt my throne above the Most High God. And I was like, I don't think so. But Satan, at that point, tried to take over heaven, basically. And God kicks him out. That's when Jesus saw him fall like lightning from heaven. And when he hit the earth, we read some scriptures, I take a whole Sunday school on it. When he hit the earth, it made whatever then existed, it says it made the nations tremble when he hit the earth. And it became desolate, like a nuclear bomb. And whatever was there, and all those creatures that followed Satan in their revolt, because Satan had a throne in the Garden of Eden. He said it had a throne there. I'm sorry that you weren't here, but I'm just trying to go over it all. Okay. There's a scripture where Satan says that he had a throne and basically a kingdom. They all followed, not only the angels, but all these creatures seem to have followed Satan in their revolt. And God judged them all. Because this is when we said, where did demons come from? Because demons are not fallen angels. Because the Bible says in a couple of places that the angels that sin are in chains. So demons are not angels. They're not fallen angels, because the angels that sin are in chains. So we believe that the demons are the spirits of those creatures that used to live on the earth, that are still looking to embody, to get inside and express themselves. That's why demons want to possess people, so they get in them and express themselves again. So those spirits, they're still trapped on the earth. Those are the heavenly, the wicked spirits in heavenly places that talk about in Ephesians, that they're still hovering around. And different ones hover around in different places. Wherever they used to live on the earth, that's where they still hang out. So there are different demons. You feel a different evil in different parts of the world, even different parts of the city sometimes. It's a different evil there in someplace else. So, in fact, when Jesus cast the devils out of one particular man in the Garden of Gadarenes, and he was in the tombs and stuff, they said, don't send us out of this country.
Yeah.
So we sent them into the pigs.
Yeah.
Now the pigs killed themselves, but they didn't. The pigs, no, I don't want no demon in me.
Yeah.
So when Satan got kicked out, he fell to the earth, and from then on he's been trapped. We'll read about it again in Revelations, because they replay it like an old movie, and you see Satan getting kicked out and he's trapped. And in fact, Jesus came and said, now the God of this world, his time is up now that Jesus is fulfilling what he's supposed to do. So Satan is now the God of this world and trapped in this world. And so, I don't even know why I was talking about all of that. I'm sure it had something to do with something. But, I saw Lane, right. Even the demons are subject to us. And Jesus says, here's why. I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. See, I got lost in my own story. I knew that has something to do with Jesus. Okay, so Jesus is explaining why. Here's why the demons are subject to you. Because when Satan got kicked out of heaven, he and everybody that followed him are now under my foot. Right? And if you just use the name of Jesus, demons have to listen to you. They don't have the devil is not God's opposite equal. And we were taught accidentally, and I'm going to emphasize this probably again on Sunday, in order to correct bad teaching, because for a long time the church was taught that we just have to put up with whatever's going on in the earth, but by and by, after a while, when we get to heaven, then everything's going to be okay. So for too long, the black church especially was accepting a lot of bad stuff that was going on. And we just thought, well, this world is the valley of tears, and this is all we can expect. But the Bible says, no, if you follow my word, you will have good success. You should have successful and prosperous lives. But they went too far. The church went too far. And they began to teach that all good things come from God and all bad things come from the devil. As though he was God's opposite equal. All good things come from God, and that's not true. All things come from God. The devil is under Jesus' feet. And when bad things are coming into your life, you don't have to look to the devil. You look to the Lord and say, what did I do to let this in? How am I being disobedient to you? But this doctrine came out in like the early 70s, 80s, that it's always the devil. That's when we started buying the devil and casting him out of calories and just casting out of stuff. Come out of my soup pie, don't get me fat. And they were casting the devil out of everything. And giving him too much credit. The devil, all he can do is talk to our minds and tell us to doubt God. You know, you should give up because it's not going to work out, and you should. That's what his attack is. But we have to look at our circumstances, and we have to give it credit to God and ask Him, why is this bad stuff happening, Lord? Where am I missing it? Not Satan, come out of my tennis shoes, or it's like, no, there's a rock in your shoe. It's not the devil not in your shoe. But we started just buying the devil all the time, and the devil, Jesus is telling them, I saw him fall from heaven. He's under my feet. He's not. No, you don't have to worry about the devil. You don't have to worry about him. Don't give him all this credit.
The devil gave me high blood pressure.
So they're excited when they show up. They're excited. Yay! We were able to cast out demons. Yeah, because I saw him fall before this world was ever recreated again. So you don't have to worry about the devil. Then it goes on. Then he says, in fact, I've given you authority over all the power. No serpents or scorpions, and that's just a euphemism. Those are just metaphors for the devil. No serpents, no scorpions are going to harm you. But that's not literally, a snake can't harm you. That's just a metaphor for the devil. Because the devil came as a snake to bother Eve. It says no kind of serpents, no little scorpions, none of that stuff can harm you as long as you're doing what I say. You don't have to worry about it. Now, unfortunately, some people read the Bible and I thought they're supposed to go out and start handling snakes, and they have a whole fortune, but you didn't know black people doing that. But there's this snake handler's religion because people don't know how to read the Bible. Now, then he goes on to say, verse 20. I think you're reading this.
19.
Oh. Well, go ahead, 19.
Behold, I give you authority to trample over serpents and scorpions and and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you.
Go ahead.
Nonetheless, do not rejoice in this. This is the spirit.
That the spirits.
That the spirits are subject to you, but rather rejoice because your names are written in heaven.
Yeah, so because people can get too caught up in chasing down spirits and demons. They just give themselves a ministry and get all excited and start casting the devil out of everything. And also in the 70s, when many of you were young, they wrote a book called Pigs in the Parlor, and people just started finding devils everywhere. And Jesus basically saying, don't get all excited about...
Is it a fictitious book or is it a non-fiction?
No, it's a real book about somebody's experiences casting out the devil.
Okay.
But the person who wrote it got too into the devil and started seeing devils everywhere and wrote a book all about it. And they were casting the devils out of everybody. So there was a time period in the 70s where every time you went to church, not Baptist churches, we don't fool with the devil, but in white churches, every time they would go, I have white friends, so I know all these things. They would just cast devils out of people every service. And every time you got together, couldn't wait for the devil to show up so they could cast it out or something. And I was, because that was all the rage, so I was casting devils out of people too, all the time. And telling me and praising his holy name. I would pray I'll also get people saved a lot. That's when I found out that people were not saved when I went to high school and I ran into white people and said, oh Lord, people are not saved? Wow. I didn't know that. I thought it was a myth. Because everybody I knew was at church, and then when I went to elementary school, they all went to church. I thought everybody was saved, and they were just a myth that there were people who were not saved. But I found out people were not saved. We were trying to get people saved at church. You know, tapping into the bathroom, all that stuff, you know all my stories. But I would also pray with people and say, you need the Lord. But right before I pray for you, I want you to know that the devil's going to try to stop you. The devil's going to show up, and he's going to try to stop us. He doesn't want it to happen. And I would just preach about the devil for about 10 minutes. Well, sure enough, as I was praying with the person, they would say, oh my God, the devil's here. I can feel him. I said, yes, he's here. The devil's here. He's trying to stop me. Yes, he is now. And then, oh, your face just turned green. Yeah, that's the devil. That's him. Hallelujah. And I would like conjure him up. You know what I'm saying? I was speaking into existence.
Right.
And they would tell me, your face, well, of course you're going to talk about it all that much. People are going to start saying the devil because you're the one bringing him in. We're supposed to just now I don't have anything. Now the devil's like, devil, get out of here, and I go on my business. But I talked about it so much. So Jesus is warning them: don't rejoice that spirits are subject to you. Don't get caught up in that because it'd be easy to be excited, start casting devils out of your eggs, and also, don't do that. If you're going to rejoice and get excited about something, get excited that your names are written in heaven. Amen. So that's what he's trying to prevent. He's just saying, he knows that people get way into devils. Okay, go on, verse 21.
And in that hour Jesus rejoiced in the Spirit and said, I thank you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, that you have hidden these things from the wise and prudent and revealed them to babes. Even so, Father, for so it seemed good in your sight. So
then that's why he said, I thank you that you keep these things from the Pharisees, but you revealed them to the innocent, the babes. He's calling his disciples babes. So when it says earlier in Matthew, and Jesus answered and said, I thank you, Father, that you hid these things, Matthew left out a whole chunk of the conversation. So if you read Matthew, you go, who's he answering? What's he thanking? But because Luke remembered all this, Matthew didn't. So now we're back in Matthew.
Yes.
Matthew chapter 11, verse 26 through 27.
So, Father, for so it seemed good in thy sight.
Right, so that's the same thing that Luke said. But now we know we saw it. Go ahead.
All things are delivered unto me of my Father, and no man knoweth the Son but the Father. Neither knoweth any man the Father save the Son, and whosoever the Son will. So
everything is delivered to me, and if you know me, you're going to get me. And there are people who are not going to get this, but only to people that If you open up your heart, God will reveal it to you. If you keep your heart closed, He's not going to waste His time on you. God doesn't try and hope and pray. Well, hope this works out. He knows who's going to listen and who's not. So you've been chosen because you answered the call. And because of that, God is going to reveal this to you. That's what He's saying. So I get it all, and you'll get it because God will open your eyes to it and reveal it to you. In Luke 10, Luke puts in another part of the conversation that Matthew left out. So Luke 10, verse 23.
He returned to his disciples and said, privately, blessed are the eyes which see the things you see. For I tell you that many prophets and kings have desired to see what you see, and have not seen it, and to hear what you hear, and have not heard it.
So Jesus is saying there are many, all the prophets in the Old Testament, they were prophesying about these things, but they never saw the fruition of it. Mm-hmm. We think that when God shows us something, that we're going to see it. And sometimes God is showing us something that another generation is going to see. And that's okay. But we think that we're going to see it all, so that's why we try to make it happen too fast. Sometimes we get ahead of God. You know, I'm just making this up, just go with me. So I see a Good Shepherd, a huge choir of 100 people, and a band with guitar and bass drums and this and that and trumpets, and I see that may all happen. But it could be a different generation for whom that happens, right? So I'm going to mess up if I try to make it happen now. It doesn't mean I didn't hear from God. I might have rightly heard from God, but what I didn't hear was the time frame of when it was going to happen. So sometimes we'll overspend. Well, let's spend money for this and that and this because I just know God wants to, yeah, He wants to do it. And then when you don't have any, why did the money run out? Because you got ahead of God. God's will, done in God's way, and in God's timing, never lacks God's provision. He will provide, but you have to be doing it the way He said to do it, and how and when He said to do it. Then everything comes, everything shows up. All the money is there. But all those things have to work together. And so you can know exactly what God's will was, but you didn't do it when He said it. And that's why the money ran out. Or you didn't do it the way He said it. And that's why it doesn't work out. So He's saying all these prophets, they wish they prophesied about this stuff, but they never saw it because it wasn't supposed to happen in their day. So that's why the Bible says we prophesy in part. He only gives us part of it. And Lisa and I were having a conversation on the phone the other day, and this is one reason why I was saying all I know is about the next couple months, Lisa.
Right.
You know, this is all I know is, but I can get, I'm a mess up if I start saying, and this means this is going to happen. And all I know is, here's how we're doing it right now, and then, but I'm going to mess up if I start going too far ahead of God. Right?
Just look down and says, just enough light for the step I'm on.
Just enough light.
Just enough light for the step that I'm on.
For the step that I'm on.
I
God,
had my here, so I still didn't hear what you said.
oh, that one to repeat. Just enough light for the step that I'm on.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Right. So He'll give you just that, and then He makes the step.
Right.
He'll give you just enough light. And that's how God
Like the Billie Jean video. Like Michael Jackson, Billie Jean video.
Billie Jean video. See, well, why do you say Michael Jackson?
Yeah, that's all you have to say.
But that's very good, Mary. That's very good. And that's what He gives you. But if we go out ahead of God, it doesn't mean we didn't hear God. We just didn't wait for when it's supposed to happen, and that's always what messes us up.
I agree.
We start saying, "Oh, God's gonna do this, God did." So people start expecting that. Well, yeah, but
When you start, so another way is like you start prophesying, and that some people have the gift of prophecy. Let's say me. I'm not saying I do like that.
Right.
I don't know. But if I'm saying like I see this church is going to be my favorite color, orange, in like the next 2 days. But if I start going, okay, well I have the money to paint the church. Let me go ahead and start now. But that's not God's will.
right,
And
that's not His timing.
That's not His timing.
Exactly. Doesn't mean you were wrong. It means that what God really said is, that I see the church being orange, but that could be 30 years from now.
Right.
And that is so So Jesus is saying, all these prophets, all these people, they wish they could have seen this. This is what they're prophesying about. But it didn't happen in their day. It happened hundreds of years after them. So they weren't wrong. They were just ahead. What? No. What do you mean?
My mom was asking for some water.
Oh, it's about to give us water.
You know that's my mama, so I went to look the Bible study. I'm sorry.
No, well, yeah. You need some water. You go. This needs to get some water. There may be some water in the. We ain't having nobody fall out.
Yeah.
So it's okay to stop and say, wait a minute. Let's see. I'm out for water.
There's water in the machine too.
He's going to check first the refrigerator and see if it's in the refrigerator. We didn't. We missed you. I was going to slide. So we didn't miss you. Okay. So look at 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 10 through 12.
This salvation the prophet said, who prophesied of the grace that would certain what manner of time the Spirit of Christ was indicated when he testified beforehand the sufferings of Christ and the glory that was followed. To them it was revealed that, not to themselves, but to us, they were ministering to things which now have been reported to you through those who have preached the gospel to you by the Holy
That's even
Spirit.
better. Thank you for stopping.
Things which angels desire to do.
So that's a lot way of saying they were prophesying about stuff that happened to us. They saw it clearly, but it wasn't for them. There's too many things that God gives us that we think is for us tomorrow. And it could be for a month from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. We just have to learn to be patient. We only mess up when we think we have to start trying to make it happen now. And then the money dries up and we're all confused. Well, maybe God didn't say that then. Or you guys didn't give enough. Or, no, none of that was true. You were just ahead. But being ahead of God is a typical thing. It's typical. That's usually what trips us up is getting ahead of God. Not that we didn't hear God correctly, or we didn't wait for his timing. Okay. So Matthew 11, verse 28. Now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Come to me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden.
All right, so I'm dividing up this scripture that we've heard 20 times and telling you you've never heard it correctly.
It's not over.
So, there are, oh man, I didn't even put it down there. Oh, I took it out at the last minute because I was running over the page. There are two types of calls. So, come unto me, all you that labor, and I will give you, and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. He also says, take your yoke upon me and learn of me, and you shall find rest. So, he's giving two different commands. Come unto me is different than take my yoke upon you. My yoke upon you. Right? We've all heard this. Come unto me, right? He says, take my yoke upon you. So first he's saying, come unto me. Again, that's different than taking my yoke. Those are two different commands. All ye that labor and are heavy laden. That's two different things. There are people who are working the fields, who are laboring. He says, I'm going to give you rest. Those of you who are laboring, I'm going to give you rest. Right. Lisa? No, I just, whenever you frown, I just want to make sure, is there something I'm saying?
Oh, I was just trying to make sure, because I see the commas, I'm just like trying to figure out how these are all different things. Like, okay, come unto me, I got that part. All you that are all you that labor and are heavy laden.
You got two different things. All you that labor are different than you who are heavy laden.
Right, that's what I'm saying,
right.
Same thing.
Yeah, so he's saying, come unto me, and he's also saying, take my yoke upon you. Two different things.
Okay.
So, those who are heavy laden, you need to take my yoke and not the yoke that you're carrying. Come unto me, you who are laboring, I'm going to give you rest.
Thank you, Lord.
You who are heavy laden with the wrong burden, instead of my yoke, you're going to find rest, which is different than I'm going to give you rest. Come unto me, and later he says, take my yoke on you and you'll find rest. Different than I'm going to give you rest. Okay, so I'm dividing those up. So come unto me, he says, you that labor. Look at Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 11. Someone read that.
Then I looked on all the works that my hands had done, and on the labor in which I had toiled. And indeed, all was vanity and grasping for the wind. There was no profit under the sun.
So all of you who are doing your own works, and who are just trying to get to heaven, and trying to make it, it's all vanity. I didn't tell you to do any of that. All of you who are laboring, I want to give you rest, because you are working to get your way to heaven, some of you. You're doing a lot of work that's unnecessary. You're striving too hard. It's not that hard as you're making it.
Like the people that are standing on the corner, preachers? Is that?
No. The people who, I'm only going to get to heaven if I join this committee and that committee, and I get this much money, and then I work here and I do that. They're trying to work their way to heaven. They don't realize you've already made it in. There are people who think they can do enough good works to get to heaven.
Okay.
And our works don't get us in.
That's true.
So he's saying, I need you to rest from your labor. I've already made a way for you to get in. You don't have to work your way in. If you work, it needs to be the work I've given you to do, and then it'll be joyful. But your own work is just causing stress. It's all vanity. That's what's saying in Ecclesiastes. It's not going to profit you anything. You're striving so hard. I'm going to impress Jesus. You can't. I'm going to pray a long prayer, and that's going to make Jesus heal me. No, it's not. Do you understand? I'm going to sing. We're going to do 5 songs, and that'll make the Spirit come in. No, it won't. The Spirit will come in if it wants to, but that has nothing to do with our labor. We think we can make God do stuff by how hard we strive, how hard we pray, how long we fast. If you're fasting, it's because God put that in your heart to do because you want to hear Him better. I want to fast for a while, but we think, we're trying to raise money for the church. Everybody fast. Well, what's that going to do? That's not going to make God give extra money. So we do stuff to make God do things. Well, let's have a prayer meeting for 5 hours and that'll make God do it. No, it won't. All you who are laboring, let it go. I want to give you rest from that. Here, let's look at Hebrews chapter 4, verse 3 and then 9 through 10.
For we, right there?
Yeah.
For we who have believed do enter that rest, as he has said. So I swore in my wrath, that they shall not enter my wrath. I cannot read my sign.
My wrath.
Although the works were finished from the foundation of the world.
So I got mad at them in the wilderness and said, they're not going to enter my rest. Even though actually everything was finished from the beginning of the world. So on the 7th day, God did what? Rested. He has not done another thing since.
That is true.
Everything that God was going to do for us, He's already done it. We're not waiting for God to do it. When He says He rested on the 7th day, He did it all already. It's like if you had a rich uncle who's already put money in the bank for you when you were little. My sister got a savings bond put in the bank for her when she was born. Like somebody gave a gift. Remember savings bonds?
Yeah.
So when she turned 21 or whatever, 18, whatever the age was, they went and they got that bond out of the bank. That had already been put away for her. Back in the days when everybody did savings bond. I thought I was going to get one when I turned 21, but they said, oh no, we can go. Sorry. But that was right. Only for America. But that was already done for her. God has put the money in the bank before we were born. He's trying to put the money in the bank for us. He's already got the job for us. He already got the healing for us. It's already done. He stopped working. He stopped working on the 7th day. He rested from all of his labors. So everything, God looked into the future and knew exactly what you needed before you were thought of. God has already got the healing for you. He's not trying to come up with it. Not, well, I got to work a few more hours and maybe you just be patient. I'm going to work some extra weekends and get some. He's already got it for you. So we need to enter into a rest and not trying to get God to do stuff. That's what it's saying in Hebrews.
Hold on a second.
But Jesus God through Moses was mad at the people in the wilderness and said, when he gave them the opportunity, remember, to spy out the land, and they said, no, we don't believe you, God. We're like grasshoppers. We look like grasshoppers to them, and we're not. So he says, okay, well then you won't enter into my rest. You're going to have to keep wandering around. Because it's by faith that we enter into God's rest. It's not based on what we see. They based it on, they're giants, and like, oh, so you don't believe that I can, okay, then you're going to keep wandering around. And so God tells us, you're not going to enter into his rest if you don't believe him that he's taking care of it. So if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for whatever you're looking for, you have to believe God's already taking care of it. You have to rest. You just have to rest that God has got it. Right? Not, well, it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it, because that's what messed them up. They look like giants. He says, don't worry. So God punished them. You will not enter into my rest. You're going to keep wandering out the wilderness. I'm going to kill out that whole generation of people who just don't believe me. I just brought you out of Egypt, and now you don't believe I can take care of you? That's what God gets upset with us.
That's what it says.
Because look how he brought us through. How many times does he have to rescue us? And then we still start worrying again every time a new challenge comes up. Ooh, I just got fired from my job. Yeah, God's like, I'm going to get you that job. I'll have more jobs. Calm down. So we're not entering into his rest. So that's what he's saying. For we who have believed do enter into that rest, as he said. But here's when he got mad. I swore in my wrath, they should not enter my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. It's not like God had to do anything else. It's now based on your faith. Are you going to believe that it's done or not?
All right.
There in verse 9. Somebody read verse 9.
Was I reading?
Yes.
There remains therefore a rest for the people of God. For he who has entered his rest has himself also ceased from his works as God did from his. So you cease from work. You're not striving to get God to save you. You're not striving to get God to heal you. You're not striving to get God to bless you. If you believe, you rest in the fact that he already has saved you, that he already has healed you. You don't have to make him do it. You say, thank you, God, I've already got it. That's that prayer with thanksgiving. Make your request and make me know before God with thanksgiving. You're thanking him. Thank you, Lord, that you've already done it. Not that you're going to go out and do it. Ooh, God, you better hurry up. Like he's already done it, right? Mama had to go out at midnight and go shopping to get that thing. But that's not God. He didn't forget about it. And, I better run the thrifties real quick and get it. That's how the lamb fixed it. Right, but that's not God. God's like, oh, I already took care of that. When you were born, I put that saving bonds away. And it's already taken care of. So we rest now, and we make our request known to God with thanksgiving. Thank you that you've already done it. So he says, come unto me, all you who are laboring, and I'll give you rest. You don't have to labor. Okay, chapter 11, Matthew 11, verse 29.
Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your soul.
So if you take my yoke upon you, because you are heavy laden with your own burdens, thinking of weighing you down. Take my yoke, not the yoke that you're putting on yourselves. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, learn my ways, and then you'll find that rest that I've got for you. So I've already given you rest. The only way you're going to find it is you take my yoke. Let me lead you. Toss out the burdens that you've given yourself. Toss out all the weight that you put on yourself. And take my yoke, because those of us who grew up on the farm, I did not.
Yeah.
Grew up in the dairy, I don't know
What a yoke is.
But the yoke, they put the yoke on it and you're carrying the whatever you're carrying. Right. And the oxen is doing whatever he's doing. Right. Tell me about it, because I don't know. But anyway, but Jesus says, take my yoke. Because what my yoke is easy, my burden is light. Yeah. So you won't be heavy laden anymore. He says, and because I am meek and lowly of heart, in Acts chapter 15, verse 10.
Now therefore, why do you test God by putting a yoke on the neck of the disciples? Neither our father nor we were able to bear.
So these people had just gotten saved, and they said, well, now that you're saved, you got to get circumcised, you got to do this, you got to follow the law. He said, why are you doing that to them? Don't tell them all the stuff they need to do once they get saved. They just need to do what God tells them to do. We do that still because we've taken from the world all these worldly rules about joining clubs and stuff. So when people join the church, we give them a list of, well, you got to do this, and you got to do this, and make sure you do this, and like, make sure you have a relationship with God, and He will tell you what to do. But don't you give somebody a list of what they have to do once they get saved. Let them teach them to pray and let God tell them what to do. John 15, verse 10.
If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandment and abide in His love.
So if you just do what I tell you, if you just keep my commandments, He's not talking about 10 commandments. He means the ones that I personally speak to your heart. Then you'll abide in you'll be in my love. If you do what I tell you to do instead of what the world tells you to do, or the church tells you to do, or whatever all these other people can do. If you want to abide in my love, then have a relationship with me. Take my yoke upon you.
Love me.
Jeremiah 6:16.
Thus said the Lord, stand in the way and see and ask for the whole path. For the good way is, and walk in it. Then you will find rest for your soul. But they said, we will not walk in it.
So when you stand at the crossroads, you have the choice of doing it your way or doing it God's way. It says when you stand in the ways and see, ask for the old path that I've already laid for you. There's a way that I've already laid before you were born. That's the old path that's been there. Don't do your new way and think, oh, well, you know how this will really make us good if we do this, we do that. If you walk in my way, that's where the good way is. Walk in it. Then you'll find rest. Then you'll find the rest that I have for you. Because I have it for you. I'm not going to give it to you until you put on my yoke.
Yes.
Then you'll find it because once you walk the path that I give to you, you go, oh, there it is. Oh, that makes so much more sense. Oh, thank you, Lord, that you listen, I was fighting with Waze on my phone because it was sending me the path I did not want to go. I said, okay, I'm going to go this way. And then I remembered, oh my God, my dry cleaning, I need to pick it up. Because I had that meeting in the morning, and that's exactly the way that the Waze had sent me. It sent me right by the dry cleaning place. And I said, thank you, Lord, that I went the way that you led me to go, because I was fighting. Why is it sending me this way? But something had said, put it in, because I had forgotten. But fortunately, it took me right by my dry cleaner. Oh, I wouldn't have made it to that meeting in the morning. I mean, this is just on the way here. I'm trying to get to church. It makes sense to just come down Slauson. Why are you sending me this other way? And I was so great. He says, if you go my way, you're going to go the good way. And you will find rest. So, oh, thank you. Oh, now my soul can rest. Amen. We'll rest when we go his way. We will not find any rest when we go our way. Matthew chapter 11, verse 30.
For my yoke is easy and my burden is light.
Yeah, we'll find that out. Your yoke, our yoke is heavy and heavy laden. But his yoke is easy and it's light. You go, oh, when we do what Jesus tells us to do, it just works out. Oh, that's so, we should all day long say, thank you, Jesus, I listened to you. That voice that said to take that jacket because it started raining. If we just develop a relationship with Jesus, he'll tell us stuff. And we'll find ourselves, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I just feel led to do this. And then later we'll go, oh, that's why. Oh, thank you. And it's just so much easier and lighter when we do it his way. So that's the choice. Let's look at Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9.
Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, your king is coming to you. He is just and having salvation, lowly and riding on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey.
Now here's why I put this in. He says, because I am meek and lowly of heart. Jesus is saying, here's my attitude. I'm just doing what God tells me to do. He says, I'm Jesus. Remember, there's a scripture Jesus said, there's many things I can say to you, but I'm only going to say what God told me. It's like, I'm Jesus. I know a few things. I could really say something right now, but I'm not. I'm going to stay meek and lowly and not, I'm just going to, if God doesn't say it, I'm not going to say it. If God doesn't tell me to do it, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to stay lowly. So he says, even then, Your king is coming to you, but he's just lowly riding on the donkey. I'm not coming in glory. Even though I'm the king, my choice is just to stay humble and stay obedient. And not, even though I could, I could say something right now, I'm not going to. I could do something, I'm not going to. I'm just keep it under. And so that's why it says, let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus. Have that same sort of mind, then you'll find rest for your soul. He finishes up in Philippians chapter 2, verse 7 and 8.
Made himself of no reputation, taking the form of a bondservant and coming in the likeness of men. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to the point of death, even the death of the cross.
And that's what we have to do. We have to become obedient to him that kills us. Oh, that's going to kill. If I don't say this, I'm going to die. Good, you're going to die. If I don't tell that person what I think, it's going to kill me. Good. It needs to kill that part of you that feels you must say this or must do that. We have to just learn to be obedient. We have to learn to be obedient and follow the rules of God, even though we don't want to. It doesn't make any sense. But that's how we find rest. That's how we take on his yoke instead of the yoke that we've created. We let go of our heavy burdens. Come unto me, all you that labor, that are doing your own thing, and are heavy laden with the burdens that you created. And you're going to find rest for you'll find it. I have given it to you, but you're not going to be able to find it until you're walking in the path that I've put you on. Then you'll find it. Right? So he's given it to us, but it's not automatic. We don't get it until we walk in the path that he's directed us to walk in. And so that Jesus is explaining that to him. If you want to be successful, do what I tell you to do, which is be obedient to the Spirit of God. And that's it for chapter 11. So thank you. I appreciate you guys coming out each week. The harness. All right.
I know where I got it.
Don't act like you grew up in the farm.
You?
Yes, thank you for explaining that to me. Okay, so let's bow our heads. Father,